Hello, world. How you doing? How you doing, Yevgeny?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. As you can see, I'm a bit chilly. I've got a t-shirt on. My Star Trek t-shirt. I don't know if you can see that. My Star Trek t-shirt. Then I've got my jumper on, and then I've got my Christmas jumper on.
Is it a Star Trek jumper as well?
No, it's a Stanford University jumper. Don't ask me why I'm wearing a Stanford University jumper. And I'm also, just so that you know, I'm also wearing my heavy duty. Can you see these babies? See these bad boys?
Yeah. My other
Yeah.
half has exactly the same pair. Well, not similar, not exactly the same, but a similar pair.
All the way from Canada.
Ooh.
This is Canada warmth quality.
Canadian Royal Cousins.
Okay, so why don't we get going? It looks like we've got a good group of people here today already. Hopefully, some of you are from our Heartbeat community. If you are, we're super excited that you've joined us, and do just give us a shout out and say, "Yay, I'm from your community and I've come along." So, we'll give a quick intro into what it is we do and why we're here, and then we can just get on with things because I have a chicken in the oven.
You always have a chicken in the oven.
I always
Like
have a
you always need
chicken
to
in the
go and
oven.
you have a roast going
There's
on.
always a chicken in the oven in my although it's a chicken this week because I I did I had pork on the go Tuesday a few weeks ago, and my son's computer science tutor arrived, and he's Muslim. And I thought, oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not going to make him eat it, clearly, but it's a little bit disrespectful for someone, who would not eat that to go back to their own home and then stink their own home up of a non-halal meat. So it's only chicken today. Anyway, with that in mind, let me say hello. We'll explain what we do, and then we'll crack on. So I'll just introduce myself, and then the gorgeous Yevgeny will introduce himself. So hopefully most of you know I am Gigi. I'm an ex-Amazon senior leader and bar raiser. I worked at Amazon for 5 odd years in Prime Video as a marketer, but through that time did an extensive amount of interviewing and became an Amazon interview bar raiser, which hopefully you all know what that means. And if you don't, there's a fabulous video about it on the channel. Through my time at Amazon, interviewing away, I started to identify that some candidates were doing some really weird things. So when after a while I started to ask candidates, why are you doing this weird thing? Obviously, I was a bit more polite in how I phrased it. And many of them directed me to some channels on YouTube where they had got some advice. So when I had a look at those channels and was somewhat disgusted by the information that was being shared, often not by anyone who had ever worked at Amazon. So I just started up my own YouTube channel to dispel all of those incorrect myths that were out there. I then kind of turned that into a little bit of a side hustle, left Amazon and started up my own Amazon interview preparation kind of company, and then met the gorgeous Yevgeny, and we decided to combine forces. We run Day One Careers together. It's just the two of us, and we create tons and tons of amazing Amazon interview preparation content for you to help you in your goal to become an Amazon employee. I'm going to hand to Yevgeny, and he can give you a little bit of an intro, and then we can get straight to it.
Gigi, you're the only person who calls me gorgeous these days. So
Well, that's to be fair, Yevgeny, it's because I'm not wearing my glasses.
yeah, exactly. See, there's always an explanation, but hey ho. So, right, my story is I was also an Amazonian, like Gigi, although I wasn't a bar raiser, but I spent just over 3 years there in various category and marketing leadership roles. And at some point in time, I found myself on this social network called Blind. Some of you may know it. It's when you can anonymously complain about your company and your bosses. But also, a whole bunch of folks in there were posting questions about, oh, I'm interviewing with Amazon. Do you have any tips? So I started giving out tips. Then I realized that I end up giving exactly the same tips because the questions are exactly the same. So I wrote some articles, and then from those articles, folks started asking for mock interviews. So I started coaching, and then I realized, well, actually, in most of these coaching sessions, the questions and the opportunities that most of were exactly the same. So I built some digital content, some self-study content, so I could reach more people. And then I guess this is when the story kind of merges with Gigi, so it became a side hustle for me. I started running it on top of my job at Amazon. Then I left Amazon for Apple. And while I was working at Apple, I was running day one careers pretty much as a side hustle until
You, sorry, you just said side hassle. That's so funny. That's such a Freudian
English. English is my second language.
sorry.
You will be happy I do not speak with the Russian accent. Okay, not very fashionable these days, anyway. But if we anyways, so what was I saying?
I'm
Yes,
so sorry,
oh,
Evgeny.
no, that's all right. Getting used to being thrown out into the bus in this business partnership. Anyway, side hustle while I was working at Apple, and then met the amazing Gigi, who keeps throwing jabs my way. We merged our businesses together under the Day One Careers brand, which we now own together. And yeah, we've merged our courses, we've built some new ones, and our mission is to help you guys become Amazonians with the what we believe is the best and the most accurate expertise that exists on the market. There you go.
Excellent. Excellent. And to be fair, Yevgeny's right. I do make fun of him far too much. I'm sorry. But it's not just you. I do that to everyone, including myself. Right. So let's just chat about how this is going to work and hopefully we can just kind of get going. So the idea is you folks out there can ask us any question that you like. Some caveats with that. It needs to be quite a specific question that we can answer. So please don't just come on and say, I've got an interview tomorrow, any tips? Because all I'm going to do is say, yeah, we do. We've got a YouTube channel full of them. On the other side of things, please don't ask us, I have a network QA assurance senior leader interview tomorrow. What types of technical questions can I expect? Because we're not going to be able to answer that. There are tens of thousands, I think, job families in Amazon, and clearly we are not technical experts in all of those. So if you want specific answers around the technical side of things, I'm afraid we are not going to be answering those for you, but we'll try and let you know we can't answer it rather than being rude and just ignoring you. Anything in between those two extremes, go for it. You can do that by typing your question into kind of this little box here on the right hand side. If you're on LinkedIn, and I can't really see anybody that appears to be from LinkedIn, but if you're in LinkedIn, I think all you do is just kind of write your question in the comments on LinkedIn and then it will pull through. With that in mind, also, if you have a multi-part question, try and not have a multi-part question and squeeze it in one comment. But if you can't do one, part one, part two, part three, as you kind of push your question on, and then we should be able to track it in the comments. So with that said, I think I've covered everything, haven't I, Evgeny? We can get going.
You've covered everything. Yeah, we can get straight into the questions.
All right, so Otman has a question there, but everybody else, whilst we're answering Otman's question, please do just bang your question out. There are no stupid questions. We will happily try to answer any question that you have to the best of our ability.
And Otman is starting us out with a multi-part question, as instructed.
Okay, all right, let's go for it. You want to pull it up?
Yep.
Awesome.
Part one. Okay, I'll read it out loud. So
okay.
Last week, Altman had his final interview for the RME area manager in Italy. However, his Italian proficiency is not yet at the required level, so they offered another position, which is a senior RME technician. So he's wondering if there's a possibility of moving to a higher position over time if he proves himself, or would he need to apply and go through internal interviews again?
Okay, do you want to take this one or will I?
Well, I'm assuming if this is a classic promotion response, then I'm happy to take it.
Well, I think
But if
it's both. I think it's kind of because he's got two pathways, hasn't he? Either promote in role or move role to get promotion.
Okay, fine. So again, the only reason why I'm caveating this is because I don't want to stumble upon anything very ops related where things might run slightly differently. But essentially, there are two things we're talking about. So first of all, can you prove yourself and then get yourself promoted within the same role? So the answer is yes. I mean, will it happen for you? It's probably up to you and up to a whole bunch of other factors. But in order for this to happen for you, the role that you're doing, it needs to be up scopable or up levelable. So your manager physically needs to have an opportunity within its team structure to be able to rescope your role at a more different senior level. And the only time when they will do that is when they recognize that you have an opportunity, or they believe in you that you are on the right track, so that when they do rescope your role and they put you in this role, then you will be able to raise to the bar of the new role. And if you do, and assuming you do, and that effectively means proving yourself in Amazon, they will recognize that you have proven yourself and raised to the bar by promoting you in your package, and possibly title. So that's kind of how it works. If you, on the other hand, I guess the other part of the question: can you get yourself promoted by moving into a more senior role somewhere else or elsewhere in the company? In other words, can you move into a senior role and kind of like get promoted at the same time? The answer is, in 99.9% of cases, you cannot. First, you need to move to a higher level role at your current grade, at your current level, whether it is your current role that's been rescoped at a higher level, or whether it is indeed a more senior role in, let's say, your team or some other team that has become. You move there at your current level, and then you need to prove yourself. And then only after you've proven yourself and your manager went all out to persuade a whole bunch of people that you're worthy of that promotion, only then they will make a decision to promote you, and your package will be bumped up. Gigi, have I missed anything?
Nope, nothing at all. So I'm just going to pop Otman back in. I just want to check. Yevgeny's audio is kind of fading in and out for me, but I don't know whether that's my audio issue or whether that's a Yevgeny audio issue. So can someone just mention whether Yevgeny is coming across fine for all of you and it's just a me thing, or whether you also are losing him whilst I pick the next question?
How's my audio right now? Is it better?
It's fine. You just every once in a while you just kind of and
Oh,
then you
this is
come back like
horrible.
that.
This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible.
Did you like my demonstration though?
Yeah, I loved your demonstration. Yeah, no, it was terrible.
All right, so but it might just be me. So hopefully folks can just let you know whether they're experiencing the same thing. Okay, so hi, Gigi Yevgeny. Good evening. Hello, good evening. Is it okay to keep notes, pointers during answering LP questions? So I'll just cover this one off, Yevgeny. So 99.9 reoccurring cases, yes, it is. The Amazon interview, in fact, no interview should be a memory test. You're trying to get a lot of information into your example that you share with your interviewer, and probably with a whole bunch of data points. So for the broad number of interviewers, it will be absolutely fine for you to have notes. We have a couple of recommendations in terms of using notes. The first is let them know at the beginning of the interview that you have some light notes that you might be referring to once in a while, just to keep you on track and accurate. I'm sure, I say 99.9% reoccurring at the times, they'll say that's fine. Second piece of advice that we would have is genuinely make them notes. Do not have a written script in front of you. I can guarantee you that someone will know if you're reading off a written script, and also it tends to drive reliance on that script. And if your interviewer asks you a question that will push you away from that script, candidates get flustered and lose it entirely. So notes really need to be notes. You can use a little notepad in front of you that you just have some notes in. Other candidates have stuff kind of around their screen, like sticky notes on their screen. Other people have giant posters on the wall behind you, if you have a wall behind your screen. Some people do use a second screen on their computer. I'm not a fan of that as an interviewer. You can very clearly see when someone is second screening and looking that way, or you can clearly see when someone has got something else open in front of them, because you can start to see their eyes tracking from side to side and you can see indications of scrolling. I find that very distracting as an interviewer, and I do not recommend it to any of my candidates. But with all of those caveats in mind, yes, there should be no issue in using notes. So we're going to pop this person back in. We have one person from LinkedIn. So Peter's joined us from LinkedIn. Doesn't look
Hey,
like
Peter,
anyone
how's it
else
going?
has. Gosh, Peter, it must be lonely there on LinkedIn. You're the only one.
Indeed.
But thank you for joining, Peter. Appreciate it. Right, what else do we have, Yevgeny?
We got a question from Joe, and by the way, let me know if I am fading now because I've changed some settings on my audio. So the question is, hi Gigi and Evgeny, thank you for those live sessions, very helpful. Can you please advise what the dressing outfit for the phone call, video call interview, if you're applying for the project manager? So I'm going to go ahead and say that regardless of what role you are applying for, I would say just dress comfortably and just keep it smart casual. So when I was interviewing for my roles, I would wear, for example, a pair of smart jeans and a checkered shirt. So nothing too crazy. I wouldn't recommend nothing too casual. Although when you do come for your Amazon first day, you will see that folks are wearing just about anything in there. But I would say just, to be on the safe side, smart casual is probably a good idea. But I'm struggling a bit. So Joe could be a boy or a girl in terms of outfits. So Gigi, do you have any suggestions for the female version of smart casual? What that could be?
Sure, although I would assume Joe was female because I thought Joe for a man would be Joe. But hey,
Okay.
that's
Oh, there you
just.
go. See, but
But
suspicion, yes.
hey, let's cover off both areas. So I would say exactly the same as Yevgeny, which is Amazon's actually like anything goes. I've seen someone walking past me in the sharpest, I'll never forget this man suit, the sharpest, beautifully cut 3-piece suit. And then I went onto the floor below where a whole bunch of the devs were, and there were people in shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops in the same day. So anything goes, but to Yevgeny's point, you clearly want to, at least present yourself as clean and tidy. So even as a female, I would say, a shirt, a t-shirt is fine, to be honest with you, if it's nice and clean and kind of sharp looking. Clearly they can't see below whatever's going on below the table. So whether it's a trouser, skirt, whatever. But look presentable, look clean, make sure your clothes aren't rumpled. Don't look disheveled, have your hair looking decent, and you'll be fine. Amazon should not judge anybody based on the clothes that they wear at interview. But as you all know, we all have some unconscious biases around there. So just be clean, neat, and tidy. Business casual, I guess, is the best definition that we can come up with that covers all parameters. But what I will say, and obviously I have an anecdote because I have an anecdote for every single story. If you're going with the they can't see what's going on below waist level type approach and you wear your pajama bottoms or whatever it is, just remember that you are in fact wearing said pajama bottoms. I remember interviewing a lady, obviously some time ago, and she got up from the table that we were talking to go to the back of the room to close the door because I believe someone had peeped their head around the corner. I think it was maybe one of her children. And she obviously had forgotten that she was wearing her pajama bottoms that were little shorts. And they were little yellow shorts with piggies on them. So I got a view of her walking towards the door from behind, wearing her little yellow shorts with piggies on them. So just beware if you decide to go for the ultra comfortable on the bottom half, it comes with risk. I hope that woman never
Excellent.
sees this video and knows that I'm talking about her.
No, well, maybe she should, think about selecting the pattern for those PJs. But
I mean, it's very cute, but
hey ho,
probably not what I wanted to see. Right, moving on then.
I got a question here from. Right, let's just do this quickly. So
Yep.
LPs for the question is LPs for QAE phone interview. So the answer is no clue, and the only person who has a clue is the hiring manager. And if the hiring manager share those with the recruiter, they will also have a clue. So our advice to everyone: always ask your recruiter what leadership principles are important or critical for this role, because hiring managers must know this. They must set those leadership principles. They must talk about them during the pre-hiring debriefs, in case they run them with people who do their phone screens and their loops for them. So ask away, ask these questions. In case they don't tell you, and half of them will tell you and half of them don't tell you, look through your job description and use a video in our YouTube channel where Gigi, I think we have even 2 videos in our
Yes, there's
YouTube
2. It's a
channel.
whole playlist with 2
It's a
videos
whole
in it.
playlist on how to identify leadership principles by scrubbing through that job description. And if that doesn't work for you, then Gigi offers an amazing service that where she does it for you, and you can book it from our community. I think I've covered it all.
I think you have. Okay. So why don't you pop that one back in and
Yeah, and
then
how's the audio, by the way? Is everything okay?
Yeah, good. It's nice now. It's all clear.
Brilliant. Misa.
Oh my, look at Misa's profile picture. That is awesome. I love
What
profile
dog is
pictures.
this?
I don't know, is that a Shih Tzu or something?
It looks like it.
It's very cute. So Misa from Japan. So konnichiwa. At least it's
Indeed.
here, konnichiwa. Right. So do you want to? Okay, you've applied for a program management role in S and OP. I'm not. Do you know what S and OP is? There are so many abbreviations. I'm not sure I know what S and OP is.
The only abbreviation that I know is sales and ops planning.
Oh, okay. I'm scheduled for the initial phone interview with the principal program manager. Oops. Okay. Is there a second part to this, Misha? All right. Yes. Yes. Hang on. Right. Hang on. I found it. For last mile. Oh, so you're right. A planning role, last mile. And I have project management experience in healthcare, but not many specific duties related to capacity planning. Right, hang on.
Looks like there's a
I'm
third part
strolling.
there.
Yeah, no, I'm way ahead. How can I align this experience with those duties? I've stories to align perfectly with the LPs, but worried about the differences in industry and responsibilities. Okay. Shall I take this one, Yevgeny?
Yeah, please.
All right. So you need to think about transferable skills, Misa, because you can't fake the fact that you've been in that industry because you haven't been in that industry. But they've decided to interview you anyway. So they're obviously not overly concerned that you haven't been in that industry. So review the job description and highlight kind of the functional skills that they're talking about in the job description. You've got your leadership principle stories. Just make sure that within your leadership principle stories, there is a reasonable reflection of those functional skills that they talk about in the job description. So they might just talk about, data analytics. Okay, well, that's a transferable skill that you may have covered off in your previous role. So make sure that's included in one of your leadership principle stories. Or they might talk about, I don't know, building trust with or working with people around you. It's a functional skill. So again, make sure that you've got it in there. If they're talking about project management, make sure you've got a story that reflects project management. So the fact that you're not in their industry is not that important, because if it was, they wouldn't be interviewing you in the first place. Just think about those functional transferable skills and merge them together with your leadership principle stories, and all will be well. Would you add anything else, Yevgeny?
No, I think it was all covered in great detail.
You're going to put Misha back.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna put Misha back. And nope, I'm just gonna move to the next one.
Misha, what we would love to know, what's on the old profile picture? What type of dog is that? Oh, it's a Pomeranian. Yes. She's told us further down. Pomeranian. There we go.
Beautiful dog.
Love a Pomeranian. Ooh, fluffy. I have a wiry dog, so I love a fluffy one.
Floofy. Cool. So this one is from Boshi, and the question is, can I recycle examples from phone interview for the loop interview? The question is to Gigi, but I'm just gonna jump in and answer it. So the answer is yes, you can, but only in 2 cases. One, they ask you exactly the same question. And let's say someone else asks you exactly the same question during your phone screen. And in that case, our recommendation is to tell your interviewer during your loop that exactly the same question was asked during the phone screen, and just mention that unless they tell you otherwise, you're going to share exactly the same response and see what they say. Some interviewers will be okay with it. Some interviewers will ask you to perhaps share something else. Now, the other case is that, for example, you have a situation that maybe lends itself to multiple leadership principles. In fact, a lot of the situations in our work experience are complex, right? We don't go through our professional life thinking, okay, in this particular case or in this day, I shall be demonstrating this leadership principle or that leadership principle. In reality, life is messy, and you would have demonstrated multiple different leadership principles in one professional situation. Now, if you think, and this is your judgment call, right? If you think you can sell a totally different set of behaviors by using the same professional context, then yes, you can recycle the same professional context and use it to craft a story for a different leadership principle. But if you think you're going to struggle with it, if you're thinking this story is probably 99% customer obsession and only 1% earned trust, and I really can't dig out any of those earned trust behaviors in there, then better don't do it. What would you add, Gigi, if anything?
Nothing. It's just a basic function of the more unique examples you have, the better. It's kind
That's
of
true.
a bit of a basic. Okay, but can we just show a little bit of respect to Boshi Wang, who appear to have their own logo? I love the
Yes.
Pomeranian. It was cute, but if you got your own personal logo, I think that says something. So respect.
Can I say something embarrassing right now? I've got a personal
Embarrassing.
logo as well.
Oh, you've never, Kenny, you've never
I've
shown
never
me
showed it
your
to you.
personal logo.
I've
Mm.
never showed it to
There's
you.
always new surprises with you, Yevgeny. We've known each other for a couple of years now, and that I've never seen. You can show me that offline.
Maybe. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. So, good evening, JS187. You have an L6 loop. Curious to know how much background info do the interviewers receive? What kind of notes do they get from the R2 manager interview? So, I don't know what an R2 manager interview is.
Me neither.
I'm going to assume that there was a previous interview with someone whose job title appears to be R2, and JS187 is just kind of, R2 is round 2. I've just seen that pop up right in the round 2 interview. All right, so do you want to take this? But obviously, Evgeny, remember that the rule change happened back in November 2022 as to who could see what in terms of notes.
Sure. Okay, so essentially the question is about how much background do interviewers receive. Well, so in terms of the phone screen, so my understanding is that R2 is the second phone screen. Now the person goes into the loop. So the people who can read the notes from your phone screens is the manager and the hiring manager and the bar raiser. So those will have the background from your phone screens. Everyone else will won't have access to those notes. I'm saying this, they won't have access to those notes in the system. Obviously, nothing is stopping them from chatting with each other by the water cooler, although this is, again, it's not something that... Huh? What?
You'd go mad as a bar raiser if they were chatting with each other by the water
They
cooler.
can, right? The candidates
Well,
need to
it's
be ready
possible,
for,
but you're not allowed
for
to.
all the eventualities. No, they're not allowed to, right? But they can, right? And and I've seen them do it. So, it does happen, unfortunately. But no, they're not allowed to. Technically speaking, they're not allowed to do this. And if they do, it would be completely sort of outside of the guidelines that Amazon creates. So I think that's the answer to your question. But Gigi, do you have anything to add?
No,
Other than
that's it.
the free
Yeah,
cash
other
around
than
impossible.
my bar raiser hackles suddenly go up. So in theory, everyone is supposed to come into the interview with as little bias as possible. So no one is supposed to talk to each other about you and your candidacy until after they have drawn their own opinion of you and placed their initial vote on the system. Yevgeny, as you said, the only people that can see notes from the early rounds are the hiring manager and the bar raiser. And that's really just to make sure that bringing you into loop is the right thing to do. But in theory, they should come in completely blind with nothing but your resume as their reference point, in theory.
In theory.
Right, let's move JS187 back. This is an interesting question. Should we pull this next one up?
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to read it? You can answer it.
Okay.
So I've got an interview coming up for a process control specialist for Amazon. I am gathering my stories, but I have a rather hard time deciding what the strongest ones are. Any tips?
Okay, so we have to first talk about what defines strong in an Amazon example, Amazon interview example. And the first thing, there's a little bit of a hierarchy, but it's kind of a theoretical hierarchy. There's no point system here. So highest up in the hierarchy for what would be strength is the number of times that you demonstrate what they're looking for in a particular leadership principle. So that would be the first kind of level of hierarchy of what would be strong. The more times you demonstrate yourself in a particular scenario, showing the behaviors of a leadership principle, the stronger that example becomes. The next thing in the hierarchy really is then going to be about the complexity of the thing that you're doing in that particular scenario. The more complicated it is, the more threads you have to pull together, the more challenges you face, the more barriers you overcome. That's the next thing that's really going to kind of make something appear to be a strong story. And then the third thing I would say, because we like to do things in three, keeps it nice and simple, is the impact that you had in terms of the results that you delivered for that story. And when I talk about impact, I mean the impact on your organization. Lots of people get a little bit twisted up because they think that their organization is so much smaller than Amazon. If they quoted a particular number, that it would be insignificant to Amazon. Amazon realizes that. They know that very few people's businesses are as big as theirs. So what they're really looking for is the impact on your particular business. So you need to make sure that when you describe that impact, you put that into context and you baseline what that situation would normally be. So Amazon can then see the relative impact of whatever this story is on your particular organization. I'm just going to wheel back to the first point that I made about the number of times that you demonstrate what they're looking for in a particular leadership principle, because at the end of this session, we're going to give you a link to a free course that we offer on the customer obsession leadership principle. And what that course contains is some insight on the actual customer obsession leadership principle, the different kind of facets that exist to it, and also gives you some really clear information on what the interviewer is looking for in customer obsession. So I would say, Srishti, hopefully I've got that right, check that course out, because then, as I'm saying to you, it depends how many times you demonstrate behaviors of that leadership principle. That little bit of the course where we talk to you about what the interviewer is actually looking for, the more of those things that you would demonstrate in your story of customer obsession, the stronger that example would appear to be. I think that's it. Is there anything else you would say, Evgeny?
No, I think it's great. Remember, percentages are your best friend to put everything in context and baseline stuff. Okay. Let's. Do you want to do the little?
Oh, are we half an hour already? Oh my God, that flew. And we've so many more questions to get through. Folks might
Or I'm happy to just power through.
Oh, no. I put a lot of effort into creating those things. It's only 2 minutes, right? So let's just quick break. Gosh, that went fast. So, folks, obviously we put a lot of effort into this for you, and it is our pleasure and our privilege to be able to do that. But in return, we would like to ask you a little bit of a favor. And that is, whenever you're watching any of our content on the YouTube channel, you either give it a thumbs up and a like, or you drop in a little comment. The reason we ask that is those two things are signals of engagement. That tells the YouTube algorithm that our content is good and that people like it. The more signals of engagement the YouTube algorithm gets, the more it promotes our content over other content. And if you were here at the beginning, you heard me bemoaning the poor quality of content that also exists here on YouTube. So the more you do that, the more favors you are giving and paying it forward or backwards, I don't know which way it is, to other people who are also in the same position as you, looking for some reliable content. So what we're going to do is take a couple of seconds to ask you to give this particular stream a bit of a thumbs up. And to entertain you whilst we do that, I did create some little animations. The only thing I will say is sometimes they come out a little bit loud. So just kind of pull your headphones ever so slightly off your ears, and then you will be able to enjoy the entire experience. So here we go. Whilst we play it, please do give it a little thumbs up.
Like, please like the stream now. Like, please like the stream.
We're back. Hopefully I didn't lose anyone. I always tend to lose we lose a couple of people because they obviously think we're completely unhinged, but hopefully we've got most people still here. Do you know where we were, Yevgeny? Where we left off?
Yep. So I think the next one is Skylar. So it's a so let me just read it through. So I have my loop tomorrow for a non-tech role and have compiled quite a cache of notes to reference during the interview. I appreciate that Gigi typically references her trusty notes during the interview examples, but are interviewers fairly understanding to the fact that I'll likely be referencing them quite a bit? Do you want to? Okay, I'll start taking this one, and then you can jump in. So I've never met a single interviewer throughout my tenure who would have a problem with you having reference material with some facts, some data, some bullet points, right? Not with scripts of answers, right? But for some memory aids. I've never met a single interviewer who would have a problem with that. I never had a problem with that. Gigi never had a problem with that. I don't know if Gigi's met anyone like this. I've never met anyone like this. We've also seen plenty of guidance that's being given out by recruiters to candidates, including the actual emails that sometimes our candidates screenshotted for us, where recruiters sometimes guide candidates that notes are totally okay as long as you don't read from a script. We've never ever heard about a single candidate in our community, and we've had thousands of folks coming through our community and using our prep materials, telling us that they had a problem referencing notes quite openly. And lastly, I'll tell you that during all of my interviews, I've had my notes with me. They were on the table, nicely organized, and whenever I needed to pull out a number, I would always say, right, let me just quickly consult some of my work notes, and the interviewer patiently waited. And when I started, when I resumed my answer, they resumed typing. Perspective, I can tell you that it's extremely unlikely that someone will have a problem with it. Is it completely impossible? No. I mean, you can stumble upon someone, who might for some reason not be okay with it, in which case I might think that they're just a very new Amazonian. They haven't yet been fully accustomed to the interviewing culture, but it will be an extremely rare occasion. What do you think, Gigi?
Yeah, exactly as you say. And by the way, you're still fading in and out a little bit, Yevgeny. It's livable, but you might want to just check it out for next time. Yeah, it's actually, Skylar, more about you than it is about the interviewer and how you use those notes. So, occasionally just kind of looking down and then looking up again and talking to me in the camera, that's going to be fine. But if you're looking down here and you're talking like this, then you're not talking to me, you're reading your notes, and you're possibly reading a script off your notes. So much of it is actually about how you utilize those notes in a way that makes it clear that you are referencing information rather than leaning on and reading full on paragraphs of data. I would practice and see what somebody, when I say practice with somebody else, and see how they feel about how your use of notes is coming across. Okay, I think that's that one. So, Yevgeny, I think we can actually scroll quite a long way down to get to the next one because lots of questions then follow on about notes. So I think we can jump down to N.P, which is part 1 of 2. So I'll read it out. Okay, part 1. So you've given them 10 business days of full day availability and emails backwards and forth, and each time they come back saying that the interview isn't available and asking for different times. Okay, I'm getting a little frustrated, understood, because I'm giving them a lot of flexibility and I'm wondering if they're actually interested in filling the position quickly. Okay, how can I politely ask the recruiter coordinating for the interview schedule? Okay, so let's break that down into 2 parts. The first is, are they actually interested in filling the position quickly? Well, of course they are, because having a hole in your team or knowing someone is leaving, you want to fill it. And quite frankly, no one enjoys interviewing other than maybe bar raisers. They have a full-time job that they want to get back to. So yes, they do want to fill the position. The problem they're always going to face is they're busy people and they have day jobs, and finding time to fit interviews in is not easy. Yevgeny and I have both been through it, and trust me, I think my diary was quite often triple booked. So it's not that they're not interested in you or that they're not interested in filling the role. It is just a challenge to fit interview slots in when you're already triple booked on other things. Now, that said, it's nonetheless not a particularly efficient and customer friendly experience to keep going backwards and forwards with you, and you're being as flexible as you can. So I would do as you've just described, quite frankly, and politely say to the recruitment coordinator, I'm giving you as many options as I can. Can we please find a way of pinning this date down? Maybe if you're interviewing for other roles as well, you might mention I have a few other roles that I'm interviewing for. Amazon is obviously a top priority for me, but I just want to let you know that I am working through my processes with other companies. At the point, if the back and forth still keeps coming, then I'd say you'd be within your rights to say to the recruitment coordinator, honestly, it doesn't feel like we're going to get to a final date here. And at some point, we have to stop the backwards and forwards. By the way, if you think you're frustrated, imagine the recruitment coordinator and how they're feeling, because they're not trying to just organize your time with this individual. They'll also be trying to organize other candidates' time with this individual. So imagine what you're experiencing 4, 5 times over, and that's the pain that this poor recruitment coordinator is going through. So you will, I'm sure, have a very sympathetic ear if you do politely say to this recruitment coordinator, at some point we need to lock in a date, or my other interview processes may well overtake Amazon. Would you do it any differently, Yevgeny?
No, I think well covered. I've got nothing else. Cool. I think we can keep going. So there's a question here about the work-based learning program, which is entry level. I don't know anything about it. Unless you do know something about it, I would skip this question.
No, don't know.
No. And then I think the next question after that is this one. How big of a problem is answering a question with the wrong LP? And I think there's a context there. There's a follow-up question. Also, how likely are we to be asked about the 2 new LPs? They seem quite broad or generic and not role specific.
My
Yeah, so
favorite
I can,
subject, the two
yeah,
new
exactly.
leadership
So we
roles.
can, well, I'm gonna filter some of the feedback that you shared with me when I introduced those 2 new LPs, but um, so with regards to the 2 new LPs, it's highly unlikely that you'll be asked to interview on those, purely because while they've pulled together the questions, so they exist, but they're not certain to which roles this would apply, because these leadership principles are formed as company values and as opposed to something that encompasses behaviors. And that's why interviewers actually struggle to find relevance in these values in terms of how to interview for them. At some point in time, they'll figure this out, but for now, we're not seeing these 2 leadership principles being used at all for interviews. The second question is, how big is the problem if you answer the question with the wrong LP? Is it a red flag or an auto fail? I don't believe it is an auto fail. If I was a hiring manager and I asked you a question and I realized that you were answering a completely different question that I didn't ask, I would probably correct you. If you think you were answering the right question, but your story wasn't really answering that question, that I would probably ask you a multiple follow-up questions to try and elicit the details that might be there. Now, the reason why I would do this as an Amazonian interview is because I took my training diligently, and during my Amazon interviewer training, I was told that it is one of my jobs to tease out as much evidence as possible out of the candidate so that we know whether the candidate raises the bar and doesn't raise the bar, and whether they behave in line with the leadership principles. I would treat my job this way. Is it possible that you're going to get an interviewer who won't be as generous? Yes, it is possible. It's possible you're going to get someone who will allow you to veer off course completely, and they will just take down note that says you didn't share any evidence on the leadership principle that they were interviewing you for. So, in order to prevent these situations, we suggest that you clarify your question as much as possible. Write your question down, clarify anything that you don't understand about this question, underline the key phrases and words in this question to just drill it into your brain. And if you must, ask for a couple of seconds to gather your thoughts. You won't need much because time is lengthened when you're interviewing. So you need just a few seconds and your brain will kick itself into gear. And that minimizes the chances that you will be veered off course and your interviewer won't take you back. Anything to add, Gigi?
No, nothing to add. Nothing to add. Okay. Okay, should we do you want to pick another question, Evgeny?
Yay. Oh no, that's not a question. Hang on a second. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, you can leave that one there.
Okay, fine. Always good to have some compliments, doesn't it?
Thank you for the feedback, Alicia. I really appreciate that.
All right. So, part 1 of 2. I had my loop interview cancelled the day before because the position was filled.
Yeah.
This was after my first round being delayed for 3+ weeks and waiting another month for the loop to start. What a joyful interview experience. Let's keep reading. Is there something proactive I can do to prevent this outcome in the future aside from just emailing the coordinator every couple of days? Do you want to take this one?
Hang on, sorry, I was distracted by something. So, waiting for another month for your loop to start. Is there something proactive to prevent the outcome in the future? Oh, well, what are you trying to avoid? Because you can't avoid having your loop being cancelled because the position was
She wants
filled.
to avoid
Wait.
this dragged out, disorganized
Oh, okay.
interview
So
experience.
all you can do is be a little bit bold in terms of your conversations with the recruiter. You either use the line that I was talking about in terms of letting them know that you have other processes in place and you're interviewing with other people, and that gives them the sense of, oh, we better actually organize ourselves, or Adam is going to get employed by someone else and we're never going to have a bite of the cherry with Adam. Or you can just be a little bit more direct, which is, look, I would really like to have this interview in X period of time. I feel this has been dragging on a long time. So can we conclude this in the next X period? Or if we don't, I'd like to withdraw myself from the process. Those are really the only two things that you can do to try and force their hand to bring your interview to a conclusion earlier rather than later.
Yeah, that's basically it. All right, let's keep going. So we've got a very interesting question here from Peter. So I'm just gonna read it out and then we're gonna take it off because it's blocking all of our heads. So, any advice on how to handle the designated a-hole? I interviewed for Amazon about a year ago, and the conclusion I've come to since then is that it is necessary to be able to handle a-holes because Amazon is so flat, but I am neurodivergent and have no idea on how to do that in real life either. So, there you go. Gigi, do you want to take that one? Do you want me to take that one?
There's no designated a-hole in the interview process, right? You may come across a-holes in the interview process, but you're going to come across a-holes in life in general anyway. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that no one's going out to create a profile of a panel where someone gets to be the nominated a-hole for this panel. That just doesn't happen. But as with everything, you might come across people who you just don't gel with in life. Now, how exactly you handle that? Well, that's going to depend, Peter, on the nature of said a-hole. And what exactly you mean by a-hole. So I'm going to struggle a little bit, Yevgeny, to answer this one with any useful, actionable advice. I don't know if you feel you have useful, actionable advice on this one.
I do actually, as a matter of fact.
Share, please, because we're all going to meet a-holes at some point in our professional careers.
Well,
So,
exactly, and and the thing about, so I call them difficult people, right? We will all meet difficult people in various different situations at work, in interviewing scenarios, dealing with difficult people is unfortunately is something that in a contemporary work environment, it's a skill that you need to develop. It doesn't matter what your background is. It's just, it will happen. And the thing is, in a lot of cases, difficult people do not understand that they're difficult. Some are, and some are just like that. Perhaps that's the way that they were brought up. But a lot of people, they just don't understand. And so my personal stash of dealing with difficult people is, first and foremost, I would force myself and challenge myself to just go with the flow and go with the process and ignore anything that rubs me the wrong way. Because at the end of the day, especially in an interviewing context, chances are you're not going to meet this person again. Second, number two, if indeed you have a difficult person during your interview panel, it's a very fair question to ask yourself: do you want to work in this team? Now, without passing a judgment whether this person is difficult by nature, or it's just you who is perceiving this person as difficult, you may go through this interview process and thinking, maybe this team is not for me. So, that's kind of my basic stash of dealing with these things during the interview. And in the work environment, unfortunately, they're going to be all around us, and maybe for a lot of people, we're going to be difficult people. So once you are inside the company, the number one advice that I can give you, and it's something that I always use, is share the feedback that you're finding your interactions difficult. And in most cases, you'd be surprised how unaware people are about how they're perceived by others. So assume positive intent until proven otherwise, and otherwise stay strong. So that's my advice.
good advice. Okay, so we're going to pull this one up from, oh, I'm going to butcher this name as well. Kedarnath, I'm really sorry if I've mispronounced that. Please apologize to your parents for me. Is the bar raiser present from phone interview until loop, or just only to the loop interview? Okay, shall I do this one quickly, Yevgeny?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the bar raiser's role only comes into play at loop. So they'll interview you. In some cases, they won't even interview you. When Amazon was doing tons of interviews and there weren't enough bar raisers to go around, what they were sometimes doing is not having a bar raiser do the interview and having them only facilitate the debrief. But I suspect that's not the issue, not an issue anymore. But they only get involved in the role of bar raiser once you get to loop. Now, it is possible for someone who is a qualified bar raiser to interview round one and round two. They're not interviewing you playing the role of bar raiser. They're interviewing you playing the role of a first or a second round interviewer who just happens to be a qualified bar raiser. They will not be the bar raiser when it comes to your final loop. It would be a different person, because that bar raiser has to come to the loop without any preconceptions, blah, 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 blah. That's it. Should we pick the next question? Oh, it's looking
Yeah,
like people are liking the old jib jab there, Yevgeny.
yeah, indeed, and people are reaching out for tequila. All right, so Sureka here is asking. So she finished the 3 rounds of interview and got a call from Amazon that you cleared all the 3 rounds. However, the position for which she applied is already filled, and they're suggesting other roles. And I'm kind of looking for the part 2 of the question here,
No,
and
I
I
can't
can't
find that
find
either.
the part 2. Yeah, so maybe add that part 2 so that we know what exactly
Yeah, let us know
you.
your question, Sureka, because so far you've just given us the situation. So what do you want to know from us?
Let's do this one quickly. So the question is, how long does it take to get a response after a panel at Amazon? So typically, this would be within 5 business days. This is the so-called candidate promise: 2 business days after a phone screen and 5 business days after the loop. Is it something that Amazon upholds in 100% of occasions? Nope, for various different reasons that have nothing to do with any particular candidate. In most cases, it's just logistical issues, but they do try, and if they don't, their candidate tracking system starts sending nasty emails to everyone and their managers. So in most cases, they
Repeatedly, at
do.
least 3 times a day. Oh my God, that used to
Yep.
drive me insane. Okay,
Let's keep
let's just
going.
pull this one up here. Nikolai. I'm relatively confident I pronounced that correctly now. Did I?
You did,
Good.
Nikolai?
Okay. Does the stories from your life, or are the stories from your life eligible for some leadership principle questions, or should stories be based only on your work experience? Is it my turn? I think it's my turn.
Yeah, it's your turn. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Nikolai, our recommendation is you focus on your professional experience. In most cases, your personal experience is not going to kind of connect very well with the professional context. Because what Amazon are trying to do is use information from your professional past to predict what you would do in your professional future. So, if you're giving them data on what you do in your non professional past, it makes it a bit more of a stretch for them to imagine how that would apply itself in the future. Now, there are some things that people do outside of kind of work that look quite a lot like work. So people volunteer on, for charities, and they run events, or they manage their website, or they do project management. So or they have side hustle businesses. Those things are perfectly valid, because although they're outside of your employed work, they still kind of follow the same constructs and frameworks as work that you would usually get paid for. But if you're talking about a football team, or I don't know, a knitting group, I'm stretching here, things like that, they're just too hard to kind of mentally apply to a professional context for your interviewers. So I would avoid anything along those lines. Anything you'd add,
Agreed.
Evgeny?
Nope. Nope. Fully agreed. Fully agreed.
Awesome. Popping Nikolai
Let's keep.
back then. And we've got
Let's
3
keep
minutes left,
going.
Evgeny, and we have to remember to share with everyone the free course. So maybe just do one more.
Okay. Let's do one. Uh, duh, 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 duh. Probably I've been asked many times, but how should we? Okay. Should we approach the bar raiser interview any differently? Any particular things we should ensure to do well or avoid doing badly? It's almost like we're giving the advice, support all good and against all evil. So no, don't do anything differently. Just aim for a consistent level of your performance. Don't try to pile your best stories and the best content for the bar raiser, because no one makes a decision about hiring you right there on the spot. Folks are going to be comparing notes, discussing your responses, discussing all the evidence that you shared, not just with the bar raiser. And so people do change their minds during debriefs. And that's why just aim to spread your best-selling content throughout your loop. Aim for the consistent level of performance. Don't psych yourself about the bar raisers. They're not scary. Gigi, see, she's very kind. She's so amazing. So they're all like that. There you go.
Yeah, they're all as lovely and as sweet as me. Okay, so we're now out of time, everyone. So please don't go, because I need to give you this little freebie that I promise you will absolutely love. So am I going to get this right? I am. Yes, you can finish it off, Evgeny. There we go. Right, so do check out that link, or if that link is too long, then just go to the day1.careers website and a little pop-up will appear, and that is our free customer obsession masterclass. Totally free. Also gives you access to our community, where you can join and talk to other candidates who are applying. You can also ask questions, a little bit like this, but it's obviously an offline environment. It includes, as I mentioned earlier, if you were here, a breakdown of the different facets of customer obsession, which will really help you identify the right types of examples to use from your career history for customer obsession. It also includes a lot of information about what the interviewer is actually looking for in your answers. So that will help you craft your answers to make sure that you're including the information that they are looking for. And then the final thing is there's a little mock interview at the end, me interviewing me, different hair, makeup. You'll never know that I'm the same person. And that just kind of shows you how the whole thing potentially comes together at interview. So please do go take it. Totally free, given to you with our compliments and our hope that it will provide you with some useful guidance. And I think that's it. So,
That's
folks,
it.
Just to let you know, we're not actually going to have a session for the next 2 weeks, and that's because of the crazy time zone changes, where in the world we all seem to change the times at a different week. So we're changing here in the UK next week. I believe the West in the US, or at least in the Pacific coast, it doesn't change until the week after that, and it causes all sorts of chaos. So we're not going to have a break for a couple of weeks, and then we will come back after that. So if you're still around then, please do join us. And between now and then, of course, you can join our community. And if you do have questions, you can pop them into the free space in the community, and either we or one of the other community members will try and help you out. Or, of course, there is the comment section on the YouTube channel where I'm obviously fishing through daily, and I will get back to you ASAP with your question. So until then, thank you very much for joining. It was great fun, as always, Yevgeny. And I can
Great
smell my
fun,
chicken.
always.
You smell
Yes,
my
and
chicken.
I can smell your chicken because I now want to have a roast.
You can smell my chicken on the other side of London.
Yes.
Cool. Right. Take care, Yevgeny. Take care, everyone. It
Take
was
care,
a
everyone.
delight. Take care.
Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Bye.